This video is how to install a hook assembly on a Singer Model 221 or a Singer 301. This is the hook assembly itself, complete. The hook basket is the part that is where the bobbin case hook installs. This finger up on the top is very important that it be oriented properly. So there are two set screws for the mounting. There's one here and one here, and it mounts into the machine there, which is upside down, so I'll turn it, and this is the view from the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn, this is the main lower shaft here which goes across. This is a counterweight, and the hook itself installs inside there on this portion of the shaft. That shaft has a flat spot on it. The flat spot should be oriented. That flat spot of the shaft should be oriented to the screw on the counterweight here. And you'll see as I turn it that the counterweight is an eccentric, which means it's the hole in the middle is not in the center, it is off to one side, so it is eccentric or eccentric. So with the flat spot of the shaft facing up and even with the screw of the counterweight, we're going to install the hook with one of the set screws, and the correct set screw to use for the flat spot is the set screw which is even with the hook point. So you can see the point of the hook is hard for me, is right there where my finger is pointing. That's the point of the hook, and you'll see the set screw here is. So we're going to just slide. Make sure that those two set screws inside are loose enough so that it can slide onto the shaft, and I'm going to slide the gear or the hook assembly onto the shaft, wriggle it in until that set screw is even with the flat. Don't worry if it's not exactly perfect, because once the screw is tightened it will flatten itself out. So once again, point of the hook with the set screw of the hook, even with the set screw of the counterweight. So make sure that you'll see there's some movement back and forth of the shaft itself. That's kind of normal. You might mitigate that, keep it at a minimum. So squeeze, holding your finger here, push the hook in, and make sure there's really, you don't want to make it too tight because it can bind, but make sure that it's tight enough. And then just take a screwdriver and tighten the screw, the set screw on the hook, rotate it slightly, and tighten the other set screw. And you can there should be no need for timing unless someone for some reason has moved the screws on the timing gear over here on this end of the shaft. This is the timing gear, and there's no reason really to loosen those screws and move them. If you have to, there is a timing setting. But before I get to that, I want to say the most important thing in reassembling this is making sure that this finger of the hook is facing straight up on the bed of the machine. So when you put the plate on, the machine will not sew unless the plate is set on there. Set on there with that finger in between the slot. So now the hook basket, the bobbin case holder, is within those two plates of the needle plate. Once you have that set, you can put the screws back in the needle plate. I'll just put one for now. And you can double check your timing. A very simple way. Actually, I should have left the plate off if we're going to double check the timing. So forgive me, but I'm going to have to remove the plate again. And there's no needle in here, so I have to replace the needle. So to check the timing, we're going to have to take this plate off, the face plate, remove it, and the timing marks. The timing marks on the Singer is you turn the hand wheel as the needle descends into the fabric. When the needle bar is at its lowest position, on the needle bar itself, you'll see two lines which emerge from, this is the needle bar here, this is the bushing for the needle bar, and you'll see there's a line right there. Well, you can't see it well in the video, but there is a line above it. And as the needle descends in normal sewing direction, when the needle bar gets to its lowest position, that upper line will emerge from the bushing just slightly, just enough to see it. You can't see it in this video. And you continue turning the hand wheel in the sewing direction until the lower line lines up to where the upper line was when it reached its lowest point. And at that point, the needle itself should be positioned right in front of the hook. So I don't have a needle in the machine right now. So let me put a needle in real fast and we'll get the timing set. Needle goes in on this machine with the flat side to the left. So it would be in, I'm sorry, yeah, in the left. So it would be in the 9 o'clock position. Tighten the needle. So back to the timing. We turn the hand wheel in this direction of sewing. As the needle bar descends, it gets to its lowest point where it begins. That's its lowest point there. A line that you can barely see emerges here in the needle bar, and then as we continue turning it, there's the second line, the lower line, comes up to the same point where the first one emerged, and then at this point the needle should be directly there. You can see it. The needle should be directly behind or in front of the point of the hook, which is right there. So if you can see that, that is exactly how you time the machine. So once again, very important, get the finger of the bobbin case up on the top. Plate goes back on so that the thing is notched. And of course, critically important on the Singer 221 and 301s, oiling of the hook is extremely important. So we get it in this point here where you can see the cuts in the metal here of the bobbin case holder. and we place a drop or two, just a drop is all you need, of oil right there on the edge, and you'll see that oil will be distributed as soon as the machine starts to turn. So that is how we set the timing. If you've replaced the inner piece, if you had one that was broken, where this finger was broken and you just replaced the piece, oftentimes, because these machines were didn't have the precision back in the 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, sometimes they don't fit exactly perfect. So if you replace the hook as a one unit, likely it'll work well. If it has binding problems, it could be that it just isn't really compatible and you might need another one, or maybe there's just not enough lubrication and you need to oil it, thoroughly, and then run some fabric off to get any leaching onto the fabric. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, you can always contact me.